Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how the used car market is finally going in the direction that we all want it to go. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's get into it. So the sales month of April is obviously over at this point, and that means we're finally getting some of the data from what happened in April, and it's pretty interesting stuff. So the first thing that we have all been waiting for is, well, a decline in the used car market, and that's exactly what happened in April. Used car values declined by about 3%, which is really important because since December, we've seen used car values increase by about 8.6%. So we just erased 3%, right, in a single month. So I think that's pretty important. And then the next thing to note is that actual sales also declined month over month and year over year by about 8% on both figures. And so that's also important because that means that this is going to put even more downward pressure on the used car market because there are just fewer people that are interested in these used cars. Now, with that being said, we're still at historic highs with used car values, and so it's too soon to tell exactly how far these values will decline, but at least we're going in the right direction at this point. Now, some other interesting figures. The first thing is valuation at auction. Right now, the average price difference was about 98.7%. So what this means is that most cars selling at auction are selling for under what they're supposed to be worth, which again makes sense when you have a market where things are declining. And on top of that, the sales conversion rate was at just over 60%, which during this time of the year, it's usually, closer to the mid 60% range. And so that also shows that there's less interest by dealers and other parties that purchase cars at auction. And then if we look at each of the car categories, this is the first time this year where every single car category is down year over year. So the one that was up was pickup trucks. If you guys are wondering, that was the one that was interesting. But anyways, compact cars down by 3.4%. Luxury cars still down by the largest amount, 9%. Mid-size cars, 3.9%. Pickup trucks, they're down by 0.2%. Not a big amount, but they're still down. SUVs and CUVs down by 5%, vans down by 5.6%, and the total average is 4.4%. If you guys are wondering why pickup trucks are like so expensive, in terms, or not expensive, but rather why their declines haven't been as big as the other categories, it's because the new ones are so expensive. The price increase of pickup trucks has been absolutely ridiculous over the last couple of years, and so this is actually propping up the used values. But the more that we see these pickup trucks sit on dealer lots, the new ones, and the bigger the rebates get, that's going to put more downward pressure on those used pickup truck values. And so I think that that is actually the used car category that could take the biggest hit in the, I would say, medium term. So the last number that I want to go over before we cap things off with today's video is the day supply number with the used car market. The day supply number currently at the end of April sits at 42 days, which is the same as what we had in March. But March had a higher sales rate than April. And so what this means is that the total number of used cars available is actually smaller. Again, even though the day supply number is the same, right? If you have a day supply number that's the same with a lower sales rate, that means that the amount of inventory available is just lower. And again, this is what I see anecdotally when I go out in the world. I notice that there are fewer used cars at dealers than there were before. And what dealers tell me is that it's harder and harder to get a hold of used cars, right? They have to work really hard to get people to trade stuff in. And, they're doing a lot of work to buy cars off of the street. And yeah, dealers are still buying cars at auction. But again, that sales conversion rate going down makes complete sense from what I've been hearing from dealers, where they tell me that they're just not as interested in these auction cars because the quality is just absolutely atrocious. And they just don't want to have that kind of stuff in their inventory. And so now this will lead us into the conclusion part of the video. So we finally saw a meaningful decline in used car prices over the course of April. And I just think that this trend is going to continue throughout the next few months because we have a used car market where there's just not a lot of availability. And so that's pushing a lot of people out of the market because you have a lack of availability of used cars at the same time that you have prices that are still extremely high. You have to remember, although we went down by 3%, we're still up by like 40% with used car prices compared to what we saw prior to the pandemic. So used cars are still really expensive. And so trying to convince someone to settle for something within the used car market right now when prices are as high as they are it's definitely a tough pill to swallow for a lot of buyers. And so a lot of buyers are just pulling themselves out of the market. And this is happening at the same time that new car manufacturing has ramped up by a massive degree. Like, availability of new cars is improving day by day. And so that means that discounts on new cars are also improving day by day. We're starting to see more manufacturer incentives, and we're starting to see more dealer discounts across inventories, right? It used to be just on a few select vehicles. And now, like, I'm seeing vehicles that are like new releases that are coming out and they already have discounts. Like, this is stuff that we haven't seen since prior to the pandemic. And so although new car prices are also way higher, right, compared to before the pandemic, these discounts are also becoming a lot higher. And so, once these new car prices across the board start coming lower and lower, right, that's going to put them in the same price range as a lot of where these used cars are at. And so that's going to naturally push down used car values even more, because again, you're going to have a lot of buyers in a situation where they're like, okay, well, I only have like 2 options in the used car market, and they both have this amount of miles and they're not necessarily in the best condition. Or I can buy that same exact thing brand new. Yeah, maybe I have to pay a little bit more, but I'm getting a brand new car with a full warranty. And because availability is better with these new cars, I can get exactly what I want. I can get the interior color I want and get the exterior color, the options. You guys get where I'm going with this. And so I think that with what's happening in the new car market, it is going to help out with continuing to push down these prices within the used car market. And so what you have to understand as someone who could potentially be looking at buying a car in the near term or in the medium term is that if you have a car that you're trading in, it's going to be worth less and less money as time goes on. Obviously, it's going to go through normal depreciation when you put miles on and all that stuff. But on top of that, with these price declines in the used car market, it's going to experience like bonus depreciation. Like, you're going to, on a lot of cars, you're going to experience some pretty rough depreciation over the next few months. And so if it's a car where you're already in a bad situation, getting out sooner rather than later might be the best thing for you to do. And again, paired with these discounts we're seeing with new cars, it could put for a pretty good deal for you. But anyways, that's going to cap things off for today's video. Let me know what you guys think about this whole used car market situation. Do you think that this is just a blip, right? Do you think that values just declined right now, but because the supply is so tight, the values are going to stay, high for a long period of time? Or do you think that this is just the beginning of a bigger cliff, right, where values are going to decline by a much larger amount? I'll see you.